All right, let's get a new 30-minute game. The white piece is 1e4, hoping for a Caro can. Today's not the day. Play out our knight. Perhaps we will see a ruy-lopez. Yep. Morphe defense, Berlin defense. White has a couple options. We'll be castling pretty soon here. Get our king to safety. Just a nice, simple opening. Nothing too crazy. I don't know if black has any other strong ideas here. Perhaps d6. Doesn't look too bad, although that does hem in the dark squared bishop. Maybe not ideal before they develop that out. Queen to f6. All right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get castled. And then proceed cautiously. Eyeing down d3 or perhaps d4. So they take, well, if they take, then they have two defenders on that square, so I don't think that's something we can actually do. So I think d3 looks a little bit better there. They play h6, sort of a strange waiting move. I think that they perhaps have other priorities at this juncture. We'll play d3 and get our bishop out, let's say, to e3. Looks like a nice square for the bishop. Bishop out, knight could go, oh, what's this? Knight to d4. And I think the move is we take here because they're hitting our light squared bishop, which I don't care for very much. So we take, they take back. That does deprive us of that nice e3 square for our dark squared bishop. Can't come out to f4 either. I don't believe there are any traps here. Something like... Nope, that doesn't work because the light squared bishop is defending that d7 pawn. Yeah, I think we take here. Expecting to see them take back. Now our light squared bishop is hanging, and I do want to be cautious about that, but I don't think we need to do anything immediately. Now our knight can no longer go to c3. That was a good move, I think. That was a good move from our opponent. c3 is an option to sort of wrest control of this d4 square from this pawn here. I think perhaps they have queen over to b6. Maybe we just go ahead and play like bishop back to c4 just to make sure there aren't any shenanigans heading our way. I would hate to be subject to a shenanigan. We could get our knight out like this. It's sort of a long way to accomplish taking this weak pawn. My other idea was like knight out, queen up to f3, protected by the knight, queen trade. Here we go. So they're probably entertaining ideas of delivering a checkmate, something like queen down doesn't work, like queen over to e5 and then taking on the h2 square with checkmate. I think our idea of getting the knight out to f3 does prevent that. If they do move their queen over, then we have this very strong move. Knight to f3, both hitting the queen and protecting the checkmating square. So let's get our knight out. I think we'll want to land it on f3 regardless. That's like a nice natural developing square for the knight that was formerly on G1. But I think it's okay if the B1 knight lands there as well. Feels good to me. They reinforce their D4 pawn. Sort of these pawns were one square over. I often like the idea of A4, like in the Queen's Gambit, when black tries to hang on to the Gambit pawn. Here, I don't know if B4 is quite as strong. I'm going to go ahead and move our knight to F3. Oh, and look at this. That's a forkable square. That is a forkable square, so we can play pawn to E5, forking their queen and their bishop. And I believe they lose material. We have the potential to play rook to E1, adding insult to injury. And actually, I think we will need to do that, because if we E1 or E5, bishop takes, rook takes, so we do need to add this defender here. Expecting to see them castle, and then we can go ahead and fork their queen and their bishop. Very dangerous idea here. Still looking for a home for our dark squared bishop. There we go. Let's make sure this fork still works. If they take, we can take back uncontested because they can't recapture. Their light squared bishop is hemmed in. That's not good at all for our opponent. Yeah, I like this. Nice early game tactic. This also frees up a square for a dark squared bishop to move to after sort of the complications have been resolved. Queen doesn't have a lot of squares to move to. Nope. Can't stay there. Loses the queen, loses the queen. So they only have a couple of squares to move to, and then we'll... Ooh, that's tough. We'll take their bishop and then be threatening their knight as well. Also, with this pawn on... I guess probably the move is like queen over G6, we take their bishop, and then they take our pawn back. That looks decent for our opponent. I think that's the move, but they're going to lose a piece here. They're going to lose a piece for a pawn, and then it is up to us to convert the advantage. I don't think H6 was a good move. That allowed us to develop pretty rapidly. It's sort of a strange waiting move. Maybe you play it like after you castle, but I think they played it far, far too soon. I think this is a place where if you know just a few moves of opening theory, you can really rapidly get a stronger position than your opponent. They take. That's also a good move. Take back. Had a brief nightmare about queen takes f2 checkmate, but there's no piece supporting them on f2. I think we're in a good spot there. Bishop takes with check. Is this an option? Supported by our knight. I think their rook has to take back, and then we take their rook, and then they take back. No, that doesn't work. That sort of just forfeits the piece that we worked so hard to win. We didn't have to work too hard. Knight comes out. So now that we've won our piece, how do we proceed? I think there's a danger here of maybe like knight to h4, and then queen comes over and tries to deliver checkmate on g2 this time. What can we do to avoid such a fate? Get our queen out to, for example, g4, but I think this runs into pawn to, what is this, d6, opening up the light squared bishop as a defender on that knight. And then they can move their knight away and have a strong attack on our queen, which I don't care for very much. We have knight over to g4 supported by the queen, which does potentially push their queen to where they want it to go anyway. Interesting. Take a moment to think. We could develop a piece. I don't love our prospects for our dark squared bishop. We could move our knight back. Actually, I like moving our knight back to f3. Gets it out of harm's way and prevents this idea of knight coming out to h4. There we go. And now maybe we develop our dark square bishop somewhat modestly. We could put our queen up to e2, threatening not much of anything, actually. They can't move their rook out. We have control over the e file right now. Maybe pushing c3 to clear out this little pawn chain that they've created on c5 and d4. I like that, yeah. Other opportunities, if we could somehow assemble a battery. Oh, I don't think that's going to do it. So we play here. Actually, maybe we fianchetto our bishop first. I like that idea. If we fianchetto our bishop, then we've got c3 supported by the bishop. We take back. We get this nice, strong square for our bishop. Yeah, I think without these, not a lot of great developing squares for a bishop on this c1 to h6 diagonal. This loses the bishop to the pawn. f4 isn't a bad idea, but it's not supported by anything. And then, let's see. This loses to the pawn and also gets the e3, loses to the pawn and gets in the way of our rook. They may be preparing pawn to b5. Our bishop is sort of thin on squares right now, but I think we can develop pretty comfortably to d5 with tempo hitting their rook. We'll go ahead and move forward with our plan to fianchetto our bishop. Expecting to see b5, in which case we have d5. Play bishop out to d7. That's interesting. Don't know exactly what they're preparing there. But I think we can play c3. Yeah. And let's deal with this pawn chain a little bit. I think the danger here is if we take, they can take back, we can take back, they can take back, and they've won that exchange. Or wait, hold on. They take back, we take back. No, we have more. We have 1, 2, 3, and they only have, oh no, they have this pawn here too. They have 1, 2, 3. So we need to add another attacker to this d4 square if we want to take it. Or we could just take it, even exchange of pawns, and then deal with that later. Open up our dark square bishop a little bit for ideas. Let's do that. This pawn, I don't think is threatening anything. It's a little bit annoying that it's curbing your development, but I don't think we are threatened by it at this moment once they take back. And of course, if they choose to take with the piece instead, we can trade that piece. Looking at how do we develop our queen, maybe queen up to d2, connecting the rooks, and then looking to double the rooks, like e2, rook a to e1. Might be a good idea. That's one open file. The C file is semi-open right now, and if they take back, it'll be fully open. So that looks like it could be pretty good. Oh, I missed something here. They do not have to take back. Now they have b5, and they've trapped, yeah, well done. They've trapped our bishop. Well done by our opponent. So we might lose this advantage that we've worked so hard to gain. We cannot take here because their queen will simply take our bishop. Could place our knight up here, threatening knight takes, but then they can take back. Interesting indeed. Well, that's an issue. Maybe I played too frivolously with my pieces. We could take here to sort of mitigate our losses. We take, they take back, and then it's sort of an even game again. Move up here. I don't believe we're threatening anything really substantial there. Shucks. Does this do anything? Rook up to e5, supported by the pawn? I don't believe so. I don't believe it does. Actually, we could move our knight up here. Oh, there's an idea. We move our knight up. They take... we take here. No, we still need some defender for this bishop on b2. I think if we want to get any clever tactics with bishop takes queen. So I don't think that's going to work. Okay, so I think we just take this. Bummer. But I do like knight up to e5, supported by the pawn, supported by the rook. Yep. I guess that does open up knight to h5, or h4, which is potentially dangerous. But I think... Oh, no, and then they have bishop takes on g2, supported by the knight. So can we accomplish anything else? Ooh. Forking pieces. I think that's too dangerous. So if we play knight to e5, they have knight to h4. Then we have knight to d7, forking their queen and their rook. However, they get their queen out of the way, and then they're threatening checkmate, so we don't have time to take the rook, because then they come down to g2 with checkmate. A very well-supported checkmate, supported by their knight and their bishop. So that's not going to work. Could move our rook up here. This feels nice, hitting that bishop that I don't particularly care for. Let's do that. Bishop might want to trade here. And then maybe trade. Or honestly, I would just drop my bishop back to c6 if I was playing black in this position. And then after this, maybe we can do like rook to b1 or rook to e1, rook to e2 to support this bishop and still accomplish our goal of doubling our rooks. Do we have a way to trap the queen? So what if we take here? Our rook is supported by our knight, so take here, and then let's assume the bishop moves back, which I think is a strong move. We take here. Bishop or rook is supported by the knight. They make some, inoffensive move. Rook up to e6, hitting the queen. So opening up this discovered attack on the queen. Oh no, we still need to add a defender to this bishop, so we can't do that immediately. Queen to e2 accomplishes that goal. That looks like it could be appealing. They take. We'll take back. Potentially... Oh, no, that doesn't work. It's another trade. Oh, that would be bad. Knight takes on d4. Oh, no, I think that would work out, actually. So my concern was knight takes on d4. Bishop takes on d4, and then I thought our rook would be undefended. But it's not. It's actually defended very well by this bishop here. And we'd be hitting their queen, too. So that's kind of nice. But I do want to mitigate that, because this idea of... we have queen takes on b7 here. It's an option available to us. Pawn takes on c5 as an option. What about, yeah, pawn takes on c5 and then threatening some sort of rook maneuver. They have any forkable squares? No, I don't think so. Yeah, threatening some sort of rook maneuver to hit their queen. Nope, our bishop is still not defended. We can't do that quite yet. Can't do that quite yet. I want to evaluate real quick. Rook takes knight. Pawn, or no, they would do rook takes knight. Queen takes knight. Not opening up any attacking squares on their king. I thought maybe like rook takes, pawn takes, and we have queen to g3 check, but I don't think that does anything for us. Let's... Do we want to double our rooks like this? I think so. Still not concerned about knight to d4. Yeah, let's double up our rooks. Potentially moving one up to e2 to defend our bishop. I think our position here is decent, but it could be better. I think pawn takes would be strong here. Although now we have another defender on this rook, so that's good. Queen takes looks decent. Say queen takes, rook over to b8, and then we have ample escape squares, so I don't think I'm too worried. We can come back to c6, forking both of these pawns. and their rook doesn't have, it can't take on b3 because it's guarded by this pawn. Yeah, so I think that's probably our next move is queen takes b7, unless they take here on c4. So what happens if they do that? Our rook loses a defender. But I don't think that matters so much anymore because we have our rook on e1 defending it as well. So actually, I'm not worried about that. I would just leave that pawn there for now. Okay, so they come out, adding another attacker to this d4 pawn. We can still take here. Maybe, certainly if knight comes out, that looks dangerous. And then maybe introducing forking ideas by coming out to f3 with check. But I think we have defenses against that. We have g takes, and they've sacrificed a knight, and I think they're starting to run out of material. They haven't really developed either of these rooks. They have castled, which I think counts as developing. But I feel like we can go ahead and take this pawn. We no longer have this escape square available to us. But we can, let's see. We can just retreat back to f3 if we need to. Pick up a free pawn. Feels good. Another option that looks interesting to me is queen to d5, supported by this rook. I think that could be cool. Or even like rook over to d5, kicking their queen out. That's kind of cool. And then where do they go? Maybe, I don't know if they have, where do they go in that case? Queens can move to a lot of squares, but this queen is somewhat hampered. They can move to all of these squares too. Oh, that's good to know if I move my rook over. So if I move my rook, nothing on this file. Not here, not here. These are hit by our queen. I think a queen trade is probably in our favor in this position. Not here. It's guarded by the bishop. Our rook will be here, so they can't go to either of those squares. They can't take the rook because it's guarded by our queen. This is guarded by our rook. So really their only options are... Geez, yeah. Those don't look like very appealing options. Probably I would play like queen out to f4. Queen out to f4 would be good because it adds another defender to this pawn. I guess both of these would actually, because this hits the pawn diagonally and this hits it laterally. But I still like this move. It comes with tempo and gives us a moment to figure out what to do next. Actually, oh. Shucks. That was a mistake. Not the worst mistake in the world. We're still adding an attacker to this pawn. Yeah, could have been worse. Supported by our queen, supported by this pawn, supported by the rook. I'll be interested to see how much of a mistake that was, if indeed that was a mistake. The other move I wanted to evaluate was rook takes knight, now that we can open up this hole in their defense, but we don't have a way to deliver check very quickly after that. Okay, so now they have two defenders. We have two attackers. If you find a way to sneak in another attacker, I think we'll be golden. But I don't actually see an easy way to do that. Queen. Nope. A lot of things just lose material. And now that I'm looking at it, our queen is sort of rapidly running out of squares to develop to. So that's concerning. Let's take a look. I'm just going to highlight every available square for a queen. Takes. Now that this rook is in the way, we can't go there. It takes here. So this is not sufficient material. Everything in these lines loses the queen. Their queen is protecting all these squares. That's protected by their king. Nope. Okay. Every square that our opponent has is guarded, or every square that our queen can move to is guarded. So we have, 14 minutes. Let's figure out some counterplay options. Rook up to e8, check. I think they take, we take back, and they take, so we're down a rook instead of a queen. Or if they move their king out of the way, then we win a rook. No, we don't win a rook because this spot is guarded by their queen. Let's dig into that a little bit more. You could also generate a threat against their queen. I think we would have queen takes. So I don't think that quite works out. I do like the idea of throwing in a check. Throwing in a check also opens up escape squares for a queen. So then we lose just a rook. So still like a devastating blow to our position. God, what a slip. Rook to e4, one of the blunders of all time. All right. So this is forcing. I think they need to take. Oh, they need to take, and we need to take back. Otherwise, rook takes e1 is back rank checkmate. So we're in some danger there. Gee, do we have any way to mitigate that? I think we might just be getting checkmated here. Gross, gross, gross. Not my finest moment. So we take, they take, and then how do I guard against back rank checkmate? No options. I think we do the second rook. Ugh. I don't like blocking this way. I think we open an escape square. We open h3, and then we have a little bit of breathing room. Okay, so we're down a rook. Up one pawn. Oh my god, the queen was guarding the escape square. Oh boy. What a slip. Let's take a look at the review. I do want to see how bad of a blunder rook down to e4 was. I played very poorly. Let me skip down to rook 5 to e4. This move will cost you a bishop. You have to b8. Yeah, they found it. Jeez. Queen back to d5 was a good move here. The move that I was evaluating, rook to d5, an inaccuracy, and then they threaten back rank checkmate. Okay, it's not ideal, but God. Oh, that stings. It stings. All right, let's see how we did in the ruy-lopez. Book. Queen f6 is good. That was sort of a substantial threat over the course of the game. G6, d3, knight takes d4. Happy to see knight takes d4 is an excellent move. This is a fair trade. White has somewhat of an advantage. C4 was decent. Going to move their bishop out farther, supporting their pawn. Knight to d2 is excellent. Yeah, attacking our bishop was a good move because it didn't have a ton of squares to retreat to. I think this would have been probably in the cards for us eventually, had we not played b3 preparing to fianchetto our bishop. So I think that may have been a mistake. f3. Oh, that's interesting. f4 was stronger. Ooh, f4 would be a good move. Typically, I don't like pushing the f pawn because it weakens this very dangerous diagonal that the king can operate on. But, like, where are they going to put pieces? They've got their pawns clogging up this diagonal. They're not going to be able to place anything there. Threatening to win a bishop. It's a blunder. We won the bishop. So I still had, like, a good tactical find in this game. So I'm happy about that. And then I let it slip. Shucks. d6 was good. b3, I think, is probably a miss. It says it was good, but I don't know. c3 was a mistake. I permitted our opponent to create a pass pawn. Yeah, so they connect the rooks. What was the idea here for a better move? Bishop up to... Oh, so we take those squares for their bishop instead of them. Because I think they played bishop to c6, threatening like this pawn push. Yeah, getting your bishop up a little bit would have been a really strong move there. Okay. You cannot save your trap bishop now. Yeah, so we lost the bishop. Game is about tied now. Rook to e5 was good. We did block the attack. They missed a chance to win a pawn. Yeah, I think that threat was pretty substantial. I didn't give that enough credence. Golly. Right, rook after b8 was good. It says it wins our bishop. I'm not sure I understand how. How do I... What's the better move here? How do I escape? I hit their queen. Oh, I see. So the move is do make this threat, queen takes, and then I have... I can get out of the way. Get a number of escape squares available to me now. I did look at bishop a3 as a candidate move, and I discarded it because it loses a bishop. But then I landed on a move that loses me a rook and then effectively the game. So I need some way to more effectively remember and compare candidate moves in tricky positions. Online, I know I can highlight, like, oh, do I want to do a rook move here, queen move here? I can just highlight the pieces and keep them highlighted if there's a good candidate move. But I want to be able to do it for over-the-board games, so I need to come up with a way to do that. Another miss, I think, rook takes. h3 was not correct. Again, g3 was the right move. This is an issue that I've had before, is pushing the wrong pawn to create these escape squares. I should have seen the queen staring this down. Had plenty of time to figure out king to g3 was better. So those are two. Maybe I'll create like a post-it note for my monitor or something. Like one, consider carefully which pawn to push to create escape squares for the king. And two, just be thinking about remembering and comparing candidate moves. So I think good opportunities for improvement for me that I will carry into future games. That's all from me. I think a good instructive game here, and I'll look forward to another one tomorrow. Have a good one.